There's the heart rates, which at this stage are pretty low, pretty chilled, pretty happy, but that will change fairly soon, you would imagine. And the New Zealanders have port entry for this first race of the day. They get to enter that starting box 10 seconds ahead of their opponents. And after New Zealand won all 5 of the previous starts to the first mark, the Kiwis were trailing in the last race of the day yesterday, and of course, arguably it set the Americans on their path to victory. Let's have a word with Christian Camp now, who's a key member of the Swedish team out here. Artemis Racing, of course, he's out on the water for us today. Christian, what do you make of the pre-start tactics of these two teams, and what can we read into what we're seeing right now?
I think Oracle's looking to build on the success they had in the second race yesterday, and keep that going. They've obviously been working on their timing and on their software, so they'll be looking for another clean execution like they did yesterday, and they'll be watching out for Team New Zealand speed in the pre-starts.
Such an important battleground. It can really set the agenda for the rest of the race. Flurry of activity on board the Kiwi boats.
Down in 3, 2, 1, 3.
So race number 7 of the America's Cup match underway. Ken, what's your reading of the pre-start so far?
Well, the starting line is up in the very top of our screen, well up top. Now it's time and distance. This is when that critical moment of, will there be kind of feisty jockeying going on? Oracle very quickly going after what's called the leeward quarter in that hook maneuver, but very quickly peel off out of it. This is really a head game between the two skippers right now. There really can't be any help. This is all skipper's intuition. Oracle again going after that leeward quarter, that hooking position. They can't get there. Burling fending it off very, very well so far. Oracle is a kind of an interesting spot. Burling does have an overlap. Can Oracle shoot in and get over the top? Here we go. Time and distance, 10 seconds to the start.
Looking like the timings are pretty good from both of these crews at the moment. The Americans, though, having to take another little twist, and the Kiwis are away.
Yeah, that last little zig was not probably necessary or in the cards for Oracle Team USA. From a pretty dominant position, all of a sudden that last little swirl. And remember, Jimmy Spittle told us the other day he was having trouble with his software on the pre-start software. That could have been another situation where the software may have fit to him a little bit.
No penalties this time. He'll be happy about that, at least. Jimmy Spithill, 2 penalties in the 6 previous races at the start line, but it is the New Zealanders who are away fastest. 33 knots, flying up on their foils, and first to the first mark.
When he sees that again, Jimmy, he's going to kick himself for that last I mean, Ali, look at the detail of mistakes, of tiny mistakes. Being a second late for the start, all of a sudden is the difference between winning and losing at that first mark. And remember my favorite statistic?
Is that the one that the drone can hold a small Labrador underneath?
No, that's not
the one about the first to the first mark.
That's the one. That's the one we're talking about. 100% of the time, the Kiwis have gone on to win a race of which they've been first to the mark, and Oracle clearly in almost a desperate situation where they need to change that trend immediately.
A lot of talk about the weight that's been taken off the American boat. It is much lighter than it was. Those last 5 days that they had to tweak and adapt, they have changed things a good deal. It is a lot lighter, but it is also much tougher to sail and rather less stable than it was. And we heard him talking, didn't we, Jimmy Spittle, about the fact that it requires an awful lot more power, and that means more work for the grinders.
Let's go back out to Christian Camp for a minute. Christian, 100 kilos possibly coming off this boat. Give people an idea of first of all, maybe how hard that is to get it off the boat, and secondly, what could that actually do to speed? When are they going to see that difference?
Oh, it's going to show up in 10 knots and less than that. And you know, every kilo is important. If you move 100 kilos, I think around a 2-lap race course, you're probably looking at 500-600 meter gain in pure boat speed and under 10 knots. So obviously that's why Oracle's push so hard to take every bit of weight out of the boat that they don't need.
And why wouldn't they have done that early on? Why wouldn't they have done that before this event?
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's one of those things that you prioritize differently, and as you go on, you learn and you figure out, oh, okay, this is the best area where we can gain performance. So you've got to make some sacrifice.
Touch and go, Langer, touch and go. Green. Big Bill here.
I suppose part of it is what we were talking about yesterday, the need to trust in the systems that you arrived here with to a certain degree, but there does become that tipping point, isn't there, where you need to go, right, changes have to be made because it's not working the way we'd like.
Credit where credit is due to the Oracle team, as we said in the pregame, for being open enough to kind of throw probably some key convictions to their program out the window in that 5-day period and build on a whole new set of what you think your speed values are. It's not easy to do, and it's pretty impressive. And look, it's so clearly paying off from the first weekend that we saw these two guys race against each other.
Yeah, the Kiwis definitely had a massive advantage in those early races, but now we see the pair of boats attacking simultaneously. And just explain, Ken, how easy or difficult it is now for Burling to dictate the pace of this race, to dictate what happens to Jimmy Spithill and the American boat. How much can he really influence what's happening out there?
There is no doubt that there was plenty of talk about the Kiwis actually having a split at the end of the second race yesterday, which you can make a reasonable case that it cost them the race. Every match racer in the world sat there in front of their TV and said, why aren't they attacking everybody? Because they're in control, they could end the race. All of a sudden, the Kiwis are keeping a little closer eye on Oracle, especially in that first tack. They're just going to herd them around. They're going to literally herd them and keep them in the same water.
So Peter Burling taking the Kiwis all the way out almost to the boundary before deciding to tack. But it is pretty tight out there. Not a huge amount of difference between the pair of them. This is a new stat that we have for you, the accumulation of pressure. This is all about the power that's being generated by the grinders, and they're two different systems, of course. The regular grinders to the left of your screen on board Oracle Team USA, and the cycles of the Kiwis. Ken, if you can maybe elaborate on that in a moment or two as we see.
We'll get back into that in a minute, but this is kind of a cool statistic that many people have been hoping we could show because it is such an extreme difference between the grinding and the pedaling. Why are they doing it full time? Why is this hydraulic power necessary? Peter Burling allowed for the split to happen there. He actually didn't hurt, as we were talking about herding Oracle, he didn't herd Oracle. He went for the wind shift and went from 50 meters ahead to 280. So it's one thing to dictate how a sailing style of a Peter Burling, as a coach, for example, dictate a sailing style. It's another thing. Don't herd your jockey. You know, you don't rein him in to the point. Let this kid has got you to where he's gotten you. So he made a mistake yesterday. That's the other side. So he made maybe one mistake yesterday. Allow it to happen and just let him to go do his things again.
Okay, so back to these numbers. 350 is max. That's 100% of power stored, if you like, isn't it?
Correct. So on the left, on both boats, the port and starboard, that is literally the accumulated pressure for the up and down of the dagger boards, of the foils. That's only used to lift and lower the dagger boards. We believe Oracle actually never accumulates more pressure. They actually just deplete the pressure on their port and starboard accumulator. On the other side, that is how they move all the functions around. That's what the cyclists, that's what the grinders, they're constantly feeding pressure into moving the things around. That means fore and aft, in and out, the wing twist, the wing camber, everything. Slightly complicated, but they're all achieving the same goal at the end, and that's hydraulic pressure. Kiwis get low. I mean, there they are down at 185. That's the pressure to move the foils fore and aft. There's the cyclists just kind of building it back up again. No problem. And they go fast. They build that pressure super fast.
And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Just watching that move into the green and those numbers to the bottom right of your screen move up. It's moving disproportionately quickly to the American boat.
Yeah.
That, of course, is allowing them just a little bit more tactical freedom. They can choose when they maneuver, how aggressive they can be. So into the gate. And the Kiwis seemingly in control of operations at the moment. Plenty still to go, and we've seen many, many times out here on the Great Sound. One error in maneuver can cost you 150, 200 meters in some cases.
Kiwis just stretch out on that leg, though. As we're talking about hydraulic pressures, we fail really to talk about how much they just legged it out on that last beat. That was very impressive. Both teams have been out practicing in between the events, in between the racing, still searching desperately for that last little bit. Big angle differences between. It's still puffy out here on the water.
30 to boundary.
So the USA sailing a fair distance longer than the Kiwis.
Yeah, but average boat speed, you look at the average boat speed there, very similar. So there's only one thing that can be making a difference, and that's the distance. And that distance, that could be a wind shift. Very often, that's a wind shift. They missed a wind shift, and the other guys didn't. That could be when Burling did that little split when we were saying, hey, why doesn't the kid cover? He does a split. Sure enough, he's pretty good.
There's a reason he's out there. On board the American boat. It's all business at the moment. Grinders working hard. Jimmy Spithill assessing the situation, just looking around. He's looking for those wind shifts. He's looking for that extra pressure in different parts of the course that might just help them along. Found a good one yesterday, didn't they, in race 6? The fourth leg, the downwind leg, really started to squeeze the Kiwis. They need something similar here.
Yeah, this is a leg out right now. This is almost desperation time when you get out to that 400 or 500 meters for the boat behind.
Just a degree of instability in that one. We see a small wind shift to the left-hand side of the course.
Yeah, left-hand shift. That'll be okay for Oracle coming in on that side of the race course right now, but it's also about pressure. So shift is good, pressure is king, and they don't look they only go 21, 22 knots. They don't look like they're as powered up as the Kiwis are coming into this bottom gate.
Well, Jimmy Spithill said it himself, didn't he? Speed doesn't come for free. They may have gained more boat speed, but they're having to work very, very hard to build the pressure to allow them to sail the race that they want to sail. So really from here, I know still a long way to go, but it is New Zealand's to lose. Peter Burling is in complete control. There we are on his shoulder. So the Americans are going to split the course.
They're going to try, but Kiwis are onto it. They saw it coming. They probably tacked off early from the boundary and try to, again, get themselves back in the same part of the race course as Oracle's in.
24. 10 seconds. Okay, let's stand by there. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3. And turn.
You go into the back to the kind of the key moment in this race, and Listen, this is one that Jimmy wants back. Both boats essentially going for the line. You see Emirates Team New Zealand just go for it. Little go for it. That last little zig, that last little loop right there, that's what cost, you know, the boat link. That's a boat link, and that was the difference between winning and losing that start. For sure, something that Jimmy Spithill would like back at this stage.
It's amazing the dynamic as well, isn't it? Because before this match got underway, everybody figured Jimmy Spithill was going to eat Peter Burling for breakfast at the start line. And it just has not happened that way at all. The tables have been turned emphatically.
Good. No slower. No slower than this. Wrong way this way, mate.
So the boys working hard. The max heart rate, by the way, the numbers bottom right-hand side of each of those boxes. Your maximum heart rate should be around 220. Take away your age. In your case, your max heart rate be somewhere around 180.
42. You're a really nice guy.
Everybody's made differently, Kenny. That's the important thing. Cling on to that. So Simon van Veldhoven is clearly working harder than everybody else. He's the guy at the front with his head down.
Bronze medalist in the last Olympics in cycling. The first time he ever sailed a sailboat race was the first day that the Kiwis were in the trials for the America's Cup. Slightly different path than the rest of us on getting to the pinnacle of the sport.
So the mini-map, bottom left of your screen, giving you an idea as to where exactly we are on the course itself.
Stand by. Here we go. 4, 3.
And they've done a good job here, the Americans, of cutting the deficit once up around the 250 mark, back to 180 or so. But this race is still in Burling's hands.
Go again with boots up. Really good pressure here. Keep me boots up. Sure, boys. There you go. Lower, a bit light.
Kiwis tacking, and presumably from there, Ken, from that position on the course, looking to lay the gate to get in.
Quite possibly. It's going to be close, though. You see it in the top of our screen there. You see the marks in the very top of our screen, way up top. And I'm not sure if they're not going to have to do one more, but this, again, falls under the category of end the race by staying in the same water as your competitor. So I think they might have just gone early, knowing that they're going to give up an extra tack, kind of herd the cats here a little bit, you know, kind of keep them in control and make sure something crazy like the end of the second race yesterday, like that doesn't happen again. Oracle's chewed up a little bit of this lead, though. There's no doubt about it on this leg.
So one more maneuver from the Kiwis will see them through the gate. There'll be one more downwind leg before the blast reach to the finish.
Oracle decided to actually throw in an extra maneuver here in order to gain a split at the top mark. So they're going to tack at least one more time, very likely one more time than the Kiwis, but they will have a split at the top mark. Again, once you round this mark, the acceleration, about a 200-meter lead, turns into a 400-meter, at least a 350 probably by the time they get around. Christian, breeze-wise out there, is there anything going on? Puffs, shifts, anything radical that's going to get Oracle back in the game? Because they need something.
Yeah, they do need something. I don't see anything radical out here, Ken. Team New Zealand obviously listened to you yesterday and protected that left side of the course up the top, and I think they've done so wisely. I think Oracle made some nice gains up that beat through tacking better. It looked like Team New Zealand missed their rudder swap a few times and ducked the bow in on the exit of the tacks, and that cost them quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, but really right now it's Team New Zealand's to lose.
Looking like the Americans at this point require an error, and a fairly sizable one from the New Zealanders. Jimmy Spithill will be looking to bring all his experience to bear. 37-year-old Aussie.
A little bit of
I mean, there's virtually nothing between them.
Okay, so as the person who's trying to decipher, you look at it, it's actually slightly slower average speed for Emirates Team New Zealand. And that's actually remarkably close with no real rhyme or reason whatsoever. So numbers do lie sometimes. There's no real rhyme or reason why there's 400 meter lead going on right now. Down to 200, coming on.
And no doubt Jimmy Spithill will be happy about the speed factor. There doesn't seem to be a problem on that front any longer, but it is the cost of that pace.
No more mistakes. They can't make those mistakes like that pre-start mistake, that pulling the trigger at the gun. Tell you, they're coming on. Not a great jibe by Emirates Team New Zealand right there. Down to 19 knots coming out of the jibe. They looked stable, but they were quite slow for some reason. Look at this lead getting chewed up right now. One more jibing in. This is that one mistake zone, Ali, that we talk about right now. One bad jibe by Emirates Team New Zealand, and this ball game is brand new again.
So it isn't over just yet. The Kiwis have to maintain their composure, and this is when we see the competitors in the white heat of battle. Can they hold their nerve? Can Peter Burling hold on to this lead? He knows that Spithill will only need a tiny chink of light. There's their final jibe in towards the gate.
You see Glenn Ashby, the wing trimmer, actually driving the boat coming out of these jibes in order to allow Burling to get across, keep the thing up on the foils while Burling is sprinting across the boat. Boy, a real close-up on this leg, but unfortunately with a quick little reach to the finish. We haven't seen a lot of passes on this reach coming to the finish through the entire event. It could be too little too late for Oracle Team USA.
It's looking like it'll be a step too far for Jimmy Spithill, this one. But he will be encouraged at the way that he has closed the gap at the very least, particularly when you take it all the way back to the start line and how costly that was. The Kiwis are zipping along pretty nicely. Little glance over his shoulder from driving Miss Daisy. Don't forget, they've been tidying up their boat as well. He likes a good tidy, Peter Burling. And they've been tweaking and adjusting here and there in amongst the Americans. And as a result of a pretty clean race, New Zealand reassert their authority here in Bermuda, a tight margin, but they have moved into a 5-1 lead in the America's Cup match, and they are 2 wins from the trophy. 10 seconds the margin, 11. That is tight by anybody's reckoning, but it is still an American defeat.
Can't afford it anymore, Ali. They can't afford these little mistakes.